Hello everyone, in this video we're going to go over example questions for Canadian Citizenship Test. Feel free to pause the video if you need to do so. We're going to go over each questions and we're going to answer those questions together one by one. Let's begin. So the first question is, what did King Charles II allow the Hudson's Bay Company to look for in 1670? Water, fur, food, or wood? The answer is fur. Question number 2. What province did Upper Canada become? Was it Protestant or Catholic? The options are Quebec Protestant, Quebec Catholic, Ontario Protestant, Ontario Catholic. The answer is Ontario Protestant. Next question. What province did Lower Canada become? Was it Protestant or Catholic? Ontario Protestant, Quebec Protestant, Ontario Catholic, Quebec Catholic. The answer is Quebec Catholic. Next question is, what is the Canadian Constitution? The options are Option 1, the Canadian Constitution is a collection of maps and guides by which our country defends itself. Option 2, the Canadian Constitution is a collection of arts and cultures by which our country represents itself. Option 3, the Canadian Constitution is a system of laws and conventions by which our country governs itself. And last option is the Canadian Constitution is a collection of people and leaders by which our country represents itself. The correct answer is option number 3. The Canadian Constitution is a system of laws and conventions by which our country governs itself. Question 5. Who were the Loyalists, also known as United Empire Loyalists? Option 1, settlers who came from Quebec during and after the American Revolution. Option 2, settlers who came from United States during and after the American Revolution. Option 3, settlers who came from West Africa during and after American Revolution. Option 4, settlers who came from Nova Scotia during and after American Revolution. The answer is option 2, settlers who came from United States during and after American Revolution. Question 6. How many black loyalists came north to live in Canada? Option 1, about 3,000. Option 2, about 40,000. Option 3, about 4,000. Or option 4, about 30,000. The answer to this question is option 1, about 3,000. Next question. Who were the voyageurs or carriers? Option 1, men from Montreal who traveled by canoe and carried trade goods and supplies to exchange for furs. Option 2, men from Montreal who traveled by canoe and carried trade goods and supplies to exchange for leather. Option 3, men from Toronto who traveled by canoe and carried trade goods and supplies to exchange for leather. Option 4, men from Toronto who traveled by canoe and carried trade goods and supplies to exchange for fur. The answer to this question is option number 1, men from Montreal who traveled by canoe and carried trade goods and supplies to exchange for furs. Question 8. Who helped the Loyalists to move from United States to Nova Scotia and Quebec in 1782 and 1783? Option 1, Count Frontenac. Option 2, Pierre Le Moyne. Option 3, Jacques Cartier. Or option 4, Sergei Carleton. The answer to this question is option 4, Sergei Carleton. Next question. Freetown in Sierra Leone was started in 1972 when some Black Nova Scotians left Canada. True or false? The answer is true. Question 10. Who came from Iceland to the eastern part of Canada 1,000 years ago? The Viking, the Dene, the Cree, the Inuit. The answer to this question is the Vikings. Next. Question 11. What was the name of Quebec before 1759? New Britain, New Montreal, New Quebec, New France. The answer to this question is New France. What did the Constitutional Act of 1791 do? Option 1, elected the first representative assembly in Prince Edward. Option 2, debated whether to use both French and English. Option 3, elected the first representative assembly in Halifax. Option 4, divided the province of Quebec into Upper Canada and Lower Canada. The answer to this question is option 4. Divided the province of Quebec into Upper Canada and Lower Canada. Question 13. Who was the first Lieutenant Governor of Canada and founder of the city of York, now known as Toronto? Option 1, the United States. Option 2, Lieutenant Governor John Graves Simcoe. Option 3, Mary Ann Carey. Option 4, the British Parliament. The answer to this question is option number 2, Lieutenant Governor John Graves Simcoe. Next question. When was the Hudson Bay's Company allowed to look for fur in all of the land that had water flowing into Hudson Bay? 1960, 1870, 1760, or 1670? The answer to this question is 1670. Next. Who made 3 voyages across the Atlantic Ocean between 1534 and 1542 to claim the land of Canada for the King of France? John Cabot, Jacques Cartier, King Charles II, King Francis I. The answer to this question is Jacques Cartier. Question 16. Who was defeated during the Battle of the Plains of Abraham? The French, the British, the Americans, the Iroquois. The answer to this question is the French. Question 17. Which Aboriginal group was the enemy of Algonquin, Montani, and Huron? The Cree, the Dene, the Sioux, the Iroquois. The answer to this question is the Iroquois. What was the name for the provinces of Upper Canada, Lower Canada, and the Atlantic colonies? Quebec, Halifax, Ontario, British North America. The answer to this question is British North America. Which company did King Charles II allow to look for fur in 1670? Canadian Tire, Home Depot, Hudson's Bay Company, Tim Hortons. The answer to this question is option 3, Hudson's Bay Company. When was the first elected representative assembly? 1785, 1791, 1758, 1773. The answer to this question is 1758. The Constitution Act gave both Upper and Lower Canada the right to have elections. True or false? That is true. Who was a great hero of New France who fought against the British and won many battles? Sir Guy Carleton, Jacques Cartier, Pierre Le Moyne, Count Frontenac. The answer to this question is Pierre Le Moyne. Option 3. The British Parliament passed laws to help the French-speaking Catholic people to govern the French Roman Catholic people in Quebec, also known as Quebec Act. Is that true or false? That is true. What did the first companies in Canada compete for? Rivers, fur, timber, or fish? The answer to this question is fur. The name Canada, which comes from the word Canada, means what in the Iroquois language? Land, mountain, river, or village? The answer is option 4, village. Who were the inhabitants or Canadians? Option 1, the English-speaking Catholic people in the province of Quebec. Option 2, the French-speaking Catholic people in the province of Quebec. Option 3, the French-speaking Protestant people in province of Quebec. Option 4, the English-speaking Protestant people in the province of Quebec. The answer to this question is option 2, the French-speaking Catholic people in the province of Quebec. Question 27. Who helped Upper Canada make the decision to stop slavery in 1793? The British Parliament, Lieutenant Governor John Graves Simcoe, the United States, Mary Ann Carey. The answer to this question is option number 2, Lieutenant Governor John Graves Simcoe. Question 28. Who was the first person to draw a map of Canada's East Coast? King Francis I, John Cabot, Jacques Cartier, King Charles II? The answer is John Cabot. Question 29. Who led thousands of Loyalist Mohawk Indians into Canada? Jacques Cartier, Pierre Le Moyne, Count Frontenac, Joseph Brant? The answer is Joseph Brant. Question 30. The way of escape that thousands of slaves used as they escaped from the United States to Canada was called the Underground Railroad. True or false? That is true. Mary Ann Carey was the publisher of a weekly newspaper called the Provincial Freeman and wanted to end slavery in the United States. True or false? That is true. When did the Montreal Stock Exchange open? 2002, 1932, 1832, 1732. The answer is option 3, 1832. The Loyalists or the United Empire Loyalists were people who decided to become independent from Britain. Is that true or false? That is false. What is the Quebec Act? The law passed by British government to help French-speaking Catholic people to govern the French Roman Catholic people in Quebec. The law passed by British government to help the British-speaking Catholic people to govern the French Roman Catholic people in Quebec. Option 3, the law passed by the French government to help the British-speaking Catholic people to govern the French Roman Catholic people in Quebec. Option 4, the law passed by the French government to help the French-speaking Catholic people to govern the French Roman Catholic people in Quebec. The answer to this question is option number 1. The law passed by the British government to help the French-speaking Catholic people to govern the French Roman Catholic people in Quebec. Thousands of slaves escaped the United States by following the North Star to travel north to Canada. True or false? That is true. Question 36. Where did the British defeated the French in 1759? Hudson's Bay, Ontario, Plains of Abraham, or Nova Scotia? The answer is Plains of Abraham. And the last question is, who were Cree, Dene, Iroquois, Sioux, and Inuit? Name of some native lands, name of some native groups. The answer is the second option, name of some native groups. These are the summary of the questions and the right answer that we did today together. Feel free to pause the video if you need to go over any of these questions again. I will try to post more videos about sample questions for Canadian Citizenship Test. Don't forget to subscribe and like.